Hello everyone, I'm here with Tech Motorsports, and here we are with another E46 M3 with the cracked rear subframe. So SS and I have been communicating back and forth on Instagram, going over his cracked rear subframe. He is from North Carolina. He drove the car all the way down here to Florida, and yeah. So with that being said, when communicating back and forth, he was sending me the pictures of all the cracks and everything that he has found on the car from underneath and from the inside. You know, it was kind of like, wow, there's a lot of cracks going on in there that you could end up seeing from the rear subframe being still attached. So one of the things that I started thinking about the repairs is, he stated he's been driving it. The car does not pull to the left, to the right. It doesn't do any weird noises or, you know, pull or have any odd feeling when he accelerates or decelerates. So with that being said, I've kind of started thinking, okay, this is probably still intact for the most part, that it's still, you know, repairable, because unfortunately I won't know 100% sure until the rear subframe is dropped. So yeah, so the car is an 04. It used to be an SMG, converted over to a 6-speed manual, and it has 149,294 on the odometer. So she's a very nice car. So we're gonna go ahead and jump into that. But back to the conversation that we were having, SS and I. Here are a bunch of pictures that he sent me to kind of give me an idea of the whole, how you know, the repair on the car, what it's going to take to repair it. So here's all those pictures. So you know what to say, a picture's worth 1,000 words, and I tell you what, it is a lot worse when you see it in person, because by looking at the pictures, especially the interior, because I could actually see the interior when it was dropped off, and yeah, I tell you what, in this case, that is the opposite. Seeing it in person is much more worse. You could see the depth of the cracks. You could see in some area, especially up on where the spare tire in that area is at, I could almost stick my pinky through it, and it's separated that bad. So yeah, like usual, I'm gonna go ahead and start removing the rear subframe, get the gas tank out of the way, and kind of go from there and see how bad she is, and yeah, so pick you up when the subframe is completely out. All right, so with the left side wheel well area, this is a good telltale. As I stated before in my other videos, this is a good area that you can look at, because the strut is mounted right here, and you can see by any chance if there's any seam sealer that is cracked. That at least will tell you that there is some movement in between this skin and then this skin right here. But as you can see, there is a crack right here, and it just goes all the way down, and what it's doing is it's dropping down the further I go to this point right here, which is no bueno. And then you go up to here and you can see how bad that is. So that actually is the hole. The spot weld that is right here, it broke on the bottom section, and it goes all the way up to here, and I don't know if you can tell, but there is a crack right there. So let's take a look at the back side of this, or let's just jump into this area real quick. As you can see how bad it has cracked. This whole section here, the bottom section, is starting to, I guess the way I could describe it, starting to droop down. So it's starting to come down a little bit. So on the back side of this lip right here, you can, as I was stating, you see a crack there, and here's another one up here. And as you can see, it's starting to, let me get out of the light so you can see a little bit better. As you can start seeing the spot weld, it's just cracked all the way there, and it even comes down into this spot weld, and then that section, oop, the light's in the way, and then that section right here, it's just cracked. So yeah, so if we jump into the rear pocket, this is the left side rear mounting point, as you can see, it's got a crack here and a nice long one from up here, working its way all the way down to right here, and even stops right there. There is this broken spot weld, and I think I already mentioned that. Oh, and these two right here as well. This is a broken spot weld. So if you look through a certain section, I could see the interior from one of these holes. I think it's this one right here. So it gets even worse than this, guys. So it even drops all the way down to where here are the broken spot welds on this side and this side as well. This one I circled because I didn't clean off. You can see the broken spot weld on the inside of the spare tire compartment. And then if we jump to the other bad one, this is the right side rear mounting point. As you can see right here, it's cracked all the way right here, and there's the crack right here starting, working its way down into right here. And there's the other section right here, just a small one right here as well. What happens is then goes into this one right here. This is a pretty big one. It's big enough to where I can put a screwdriver in it. So that's pretty big. Take that bad boy back out. And what that does, or what it has done, it is brought this crack all the way down right here. It's completely separated, so I have to take care of that. And then also because of all of the broken welds and everything, spot welds, we got the same thing on this side. So this one is broken as well, this one. And yeah, there's just a lot of craziness. And as always, it goes into the spot welds right alongside where the spring goes on both sides. This one is a normal one that cracks. It always has its cracks around this area here and this section, and then here. This is divoted in, so this is kind of normal. And then it'll sometimes it'll go all the way towards the back side of it, or sometimes it'll stop. But this one went all the way through this spot weld, so that has to be fixed. And this one that I've seen has rarely needed any work done. This one does, but if what we just looked at with all the other component or the other mounting points, yeah, this one's going to fail as well. So got some cracking I gotta take care of on that end. So let's take a look at the interior real quick on the inside. All right, with the seam sealer removed, you can see a little bit more of the broken spot welds. This is where you have to look at the condition of the chassis itself to dictate if you're going to have to need to take this off. But with how many cracks it is, I already knew that this was going to end up being that way. There's also a telltale on the other side. But yeah, so these two spot welds here are nice, and I don't know if you can see it where they're at, but all the way here, those are intact. So that's where I stopped cleaning the seam sealer off. So these got to have to be repaired. And then also, if we go all the way to on the driver's side, the left-hand side, there is a crack here, and then these three spot welds are technically broken as well. So and then we go all the way up to the front to where these two spot welds are intact. So and then we get to the back section of it, and if you look all the way back here in the back, this section is the worst in that section. But yeah, it's starting to separate, and you can probably see that this section here is starting to come down and starting to droop, I guess is how I'm trying to describe it. And the same thing with this side here. I mean, it's almost to the point to where I can stick my finger in there. It's starting to come up. And yeah, so it's got that broken spot weld. This one's almost broke as well. And then this one's broke, and that one is completely broken off. So yeah, that's the severity of the interior section of it all. There is a spot weld over here on the spare tire area that I was mentioning earlier that I got to take care of. Let's take a look at some other things that I'll be doing to see how much more is cracked. For the front section, what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to go ahead and move forward as I'm going to install the cups for the vent bar here. So this is just technically some drilling, nothing major out of this one. So I'll technically be cutting into this section here, and then I'll be able to look at any damages that's done in these mounting points here on the front section of the cross member. Let's go to the back end and take a peek at that real quick. Okay, so for the back section, what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to be cutting away technically this whole section up here, and I am going to cut all the way down this line all the way across. This is going to enable me to go ahead and access a lot more of this area, because I am 100% and 10% sure that there's cracks here and here. Just severity of all the cracks all the way around. Now, I am cutting more than technically the vents bar will require, but I'm going to have to weld the section back on to make it kind of look as OEM as possible. So that is just the extra work that has to be done, but this needs to be taken care of. This needs to be removed so we can access all that. So yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and I got to start covering the interior up, getting all this area right here kind of covered up so that I can do the cutting on this section here. And go from there. So yeah, stay tuned for more cracks. So I got the piece cut out already, and what I ended up doing is I went ahead and took a few minutes and kind of outlined where the vids bar technically will be cut. So this section is the piece that's going to go back on with a little bit of this area right here as well, because the other piece gets the upper portion of the vents bar gets welded up in here. So yeah, so this piece is out. OMG! Let's take a look at what I found behind this. There's a crack right there. My OMG was more of I was expecting more cracks, but I am shocked that this is the only one that we got in here. But then again, if you've ever looked at a vents bar being installed, normally this section is what gets cut out, and you can barely see this right here. So if I wouldn't have cut this away, I wouldn't have found this crack right here. Like I stated earlier, with the damage that's done on every single one of these mounting points on the rear subframe, there's got to be damage. So yeah, if I move the camera up just a tad bit, you can see that this spot weld right here is cracked as well. But yeah, I expected a lot more from this side. The passenger side, the right side, that one's actually in good condition. None of the spot welds in that area is bad. Let's take a look at the front one though. That one on the passenger side is pretty bad. There she is. The right front mounting point for the rear subframe, and you can see it's just all cracked all the way around, and pretty much the whole entire thing. It was pretty much getting to the point where if it would have cracked anymore, it would have started wanting to fall completely out. So yeah, I'm looking at the spot welds in here and there. Those are intact. The issue is just right here on this flat surface. So I got to clean all that up, and you could even tell right here, this is the actual factory weld that just broke off. So yeah, so there's some repair work to do. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to end up doing is try to get that subframe to come up a little bit back to where it was originally, and tack it and get that squared away and hopefully back in a really good spot. And then I will work on everything else, fixing the cracks, getting all that done, and then installing the plates and the vents bars. So yeah, that's my next step. So see you in a bit. Now that I got the car completely wrapped up and ready for a lot of grinding, some welding, some spraying of the primer, went ahead and get that done and out of the way. So the first one I'm going to be tackling is on the driver's side, the rear section. As you can see, I already have my little a metal there to jack up on the sagging section of this area right here. So I'm able to get it pretty much right where it needs to be, as in from where the original crack is. So let's take a closer look at just the fitment on this section right here, this lip where the strut normally goes. Alright, so this is going to be the end of part 1. I will pick up part 2 here in a tad bit.